Hello and welcome. My name's Pete9xi and I'm one of the developers for ReplayCraft. Today we're going to take a look at ReplayCraft, how it works, how you can configure it in regards to your skin, and realistically just go through a bit of everything on sort of how to use it so that you can get a rough idea of how everything works, and then go from there. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you download the latest release. As of this video, that is 2.1.3. You can find that on the relevant pages. Obviously, it's in the Discord server, which will be linked down below in the description box. But I'll also have a link to where you can download the release from one of the GitHub pages. And yeah, so once you've got that, you're going to want to double click to import it. So bear with me while I just do that. So, as you can see, we've now imported the various ReplayCraft packs, which will be the behavior pack. That handles the scripting side, so that's typically server side as we call it. So that's all the behavioral side, the way it works, things like that. And then the resource pack, which is client side, and that typically contains all of the front end visuals that you would see. So hence why your skin is within the resource pack. We'll go through that in a moment, but let's first get a... No, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll set up your skin. So if you head over to the resource pack editor on the GitHub pages, this will allow you to upload your skin file. Now doing that, what it's going to do, it's going to take your skin, it's going to rename it with a number between 1 and 64. The more files you upload, obviously it will go through those individually and rename them and put them into one pack you can then install into your Minecraft client. So simply upload your skin by clicking the choose files. It will bring up a file box where you can select your file or multiple files, and then yeah, it'll do all of that for you, and all you then have to do is hit the generate skin pack button and that will start a download. So if you double click on that one, what you will see is a duplicate pack detected, failed import error message. That's understandable, it's expected. To fix that, all you need to do is head over to settings, storage, resource packs, and then scroll down until you find the resource pack for ReplayCraft and simply delete it. Okay, so once you have deleted the resource pack, simply head over to your downloads folder and find the resource pack that the tool generated, and all you then need to do is double click on that one to import it. That will allow it to complete and work its way through. As you can see there, it's imported it. So now we have both, which is great. So all we now need to do is apply the behavior pack and the resource pack to a new world. So for this instance, I'm going to create a brand new test world. We're going to call it test world. Why not? Make it peaceful. For this tutorial, we don't really need the game giving us all the mobs to deal with at the same time. We'll enable our behavior pack. That should automatically enable the resource pack. Obviously, if you've done this the other way around, if you've used it before, you will need to remove... Well, it should have already deleted it. You'll just need to reapply the resource pack. Obviously, if you're upgrading the behavior pack, remove the old one, add it in. Typically, what I do is recommend you delete the previous version and then import the new version in between updates. That way you don't have any issues and there's no sort of, it's not doing this, it's not doing that, and it turns out that you do have the wrong version installed. You will need to enable the beta APIs in order for this to work. If you don't have that enabled on your world, the only option you have is to use an external tool like the Universal Minecraft Converter, I think it's called now. It's gone through so many different names, or MC Tool Chest is what we used to use, and that would allow you to set the custom flag, but we won't be covering that today. Other than that, I think that's everything we need for this. Okay, so we'll wait for this to load, and then we'll go from there. Wonderful. Okay, so we're now in a world, and as you can see on the top left, you've been presented with a chat message that is simply explaining, hey, here's what you need to type in order to get the controls. So previous versions, you had to obtain a stick and then rename it. You don't need to do that anymore. Simply type in $RC, hit enter, and voila. You now have both sticks. We'll be covering the replay menus today, as opposed to the cinematic. So changes since sort of the early version of 2.0.0. What have we done? We've added larger builds. So previously you could only build or capture a replay within 4 chunks, depending on your simulation distance. Obviously, if you were playing on a server that had a simulation distance of 12, then you could capture 12 chunks. Now you can capture as many as you want. You can build as big as you want. If you're in an unloaded area, it's going to automatically detect that and figure out what it needs to do. You'll see that happen. I don't think we'll do that today, but typically what it will do is teleport you to the unloaded chunks temporarily to load them, as it does sort of the cleanup operations and things like that. We also added storage. So when I say storage, we're using dynamic properties, which is the scripting engine's storage system. Obviously, we can't write to the physical disk. What we can do is write to dynamic properties. In order to do that, we're using a database system that allows us to shrink the data and store it, because there is a limit on that as well. But bottom line is, you can now do multiple replays at any point in time. You could be starting, say you're starting on a mega build, not a problem. Got some farms on the go, cool. You can do those, and you'll be able to reload them from the point you left off. I would highly recommend that you finish the build before you start the cameras. Otherwise, you might find that you've forgotten to record some stuff, and your camera points won't line up, and you'll have some problems with that. So it's always best to do all the recording, make sure you're happy with it, look at the preview with FreeCam where it'll let you fly around as your player, and confirm that, yep, that's all great, and then move on to the camera setup, which we'll cover in a moment. So that's sort of the 2 big things ticked off. Animations in 2.1.3 are more lifelike. Obviously, the new skin system, we've added support for more skins compared to the old one. And there's probably something else that I've forgotten because so much has happened in the time that I've been on board. But let's get down on how we use this. So you've got the sticks. Grab some resources before we start this, and simply bring up the menu by using the use button. And as you can see here, we've got a couple of options. So we could start a recording, load a replay if we had an existing one. It's going to come back saying no builds found for your ID because, let's face it, we've not done anything. It's a new world. And delete a replay again will give you the same result. Those messages will change in time. We'll go through the settings. So sound cues are on by default and text prompts are on by default. Block placing. At the moment, there is no block placing sounds. I would imagine most people are using this for time lapses where you wouldn't really have block placing sounds because you're either going to put music there or you're going to voice over it. That's completely down to the creator, but that's what I would see happening. Yes, there is a text, Dark's put some text here to say, hey, we understand that you want this feature and we're going to try and automate it, and we will get around to doing that where it will detect what block you place and play that sound back. By default, those sounds are switched off, so you would have to enable that. Hiding the HUD during a replay, that's one you also want to choose whether you're going to enable now before you start the replay, because you can't actually switch it on or off. I need to fix that so that you can switch it off no matter where you are in the menu system. Otherwise, it won't work. So, and that does only hide certain HUD elements. Your hand and the item you're holding is still visible. Unfortunately, I've got no way to do that other than you hitting F1 on PC or disabling the HUD entirely on your, on your mobile device. Not sure how it works on PlayStation and PS4, but I would have thought it'd be very similar. So just bear that in mind, that those items are still visible. Also, pressing F1 to hide everything does disable the name tags. So if you wanted the name tags to be visible, they're going to disappear. So your real option is to use the hide HUD button and just crop your hand out of it. Make sure you're not holding an item that's going to go up into the frame, so that you can crop that image off. So that's those covered. What I will do is enable that just so you can see how it works. So let's start a recording. You're going to be prompted to give it a name. So I'm going to call this test. As soon as I hit submit, it's going to start capturing my player movements and anything else I do. So we could pop some blocks down, make a pretty pattern. Rid of that. Actually, we'll get rid of that. We'll just do this. We'll make a square because why not? That shows sort of the block breaking, which we'll cover in a moment. And I'm happy with that. So I'm going to hit save, and you'll notice straight away that it disappears. Don't panic. That's normal. The way it works is you place a block, we record you placing that block, where you placed it, the type of block, its sort of configuration, if it's a half block or a full block, or if it's directional, all those sorts of things. That's all stored in memory. We delete it because we're going to play those placements back so that you can hit record on your screen and capture back your footage, because let's face it, we can't record your client. We don't have that capability. So once you're happy with that, your next menu is going to be basically the preview. So that's going to show back, and you can see all the rest of my HUD's hidden, apart from the stick that I'm holding. If I move, there you go, you can see my hand is there. Unfortunately, that's all we can do. There we go. That's finished that. So that was and then your HUD elements come back there at the bottom. So that's the hide HUD feature. Sorry, it's very quick. There's a lot to cover. So that's the first part. You've done that recording. You've previewed it. You've gone, yep, I'm happy with that. The next step is starting the camera setup. Now, this is where you're going to pick your camera points. And to do that, you need to load a frame based on the ticks. So there's 20 ticks per second. Or by seconds, obviously 20 ticks per second. We're going to go seconds because it's just straightforward. Now, when you select your frame, you can't go back. So let's load our first frame, which would be where our character is. And what we'll do is, we're actually quite limited with area here, so we'll pop a camera point here, and then we'll load camera point. It's going to be tricky. So if I come over to here, the next step you've got is to either proceed further, or like I said, you can use the replay timeline. But the first thing you're going to want to do is save those current camera points, because if something goes wrong, at least you can reload them at the end. So we're going to hit save. The replay timeline should do that automatically, so if you go straight to here, it should just save it. And as you can see, it's given us two options. This button's going to be removed in the next update. It's not needed. You just start from your point, because point 1 is the beginning. So we'll click from point 1, and we'll go from play from this point. And as you can see, it's moving from my first camera point all the way around to the last camera point. You need a minimum of 2 camera points in order for this to work, and actually we've managed to keep everything in frame here, so this actually has worked out quite nicely. Normally it doesn't work like that. Normally I get things cut off because it's too close. So if things are too close, remove a camera point. You can actually select your camera point. So let's say camera point 2 was in the wrong place. You can edit that point, so it's going to teleport you to where you were. You could move it, say I want it to be a bit more this way, facing this direction, and that's then updated that point. It will have moved it up to there, so it's a bit higher now. That might cause us a bit of problems, but hey ho, let's see what happens. So you can then go back to the beginning and hit play, and it's going to go through and play that information back. Now you can see here that I've deleted a block and it's just plopped out of existence. No block breaking animation. That unfortunately is a limitation of Bedrock. We can't play back block breaking animations. That one always gets my tongue tied. Now, as far as I'm aware, an entity also cannot break a block. I know the Enderman can take a block, but it doesn't exactly break it. It just picks it up like we saw there, it just disappears. What we're effectively doing is when you're breaking a block, we are filling that space with air during the playback. So that's why you don't see the breaking animation. Now, when there is the ability to play that back, we will do. Obviously, it's not realistic. I completely get that, but unfortunately, we got to work with the constraints we've got. So finally, the proceed further menu, that would typically be a case of, okay, I don't want to do anything else with my cameras. I'm happy with them. I now want to record my screen, so you'd hit proceed further. Effectively at this point, move your character well out of the way of your replay area. So not well out of the way to the point where it's going to have to teleport you, because it will just teleport you to the nearest space of where it's going to start, but just out of frame. And as soon as you hit start replay, that's it. You need to be ready to hit record on your screen. So what I would suggest is if you're using OBS, start it now. And obviously, I presume you're on a PC at this point. Start it now, press that button, and off it goes. At this point, you record it. Once it's finished, stop your recording. And anything that you don't like in that replay, you've got two options. You could either use a timeline and go back and change things. When you use the timeline, due to its early access at the moment, when you remove a point, it becomes out of sync with the proceed further menu. So you have to start from your camera points, which does the same thing. It still hides the HUD, does all the same thing as this menu. It's just one step backwards. I'm not sure whether we, apart from the settings being, the replay settings here, because you can change some camera information. So we'll get onto that in a moment. But yeah, it will become out of sync, and that will give you a bit of a problem. So just bear that in mind. I typically use the timeline feature because I tend to mess up my camera points. Either I need to move them, delete them, and replace them with additional ones. And at that point, the whole other menu gets out of whack because of the way it works. Like I said, there's a lot of new stuff happening in ReplayCraft and a lot of the existing stuff happening in ReplayCraft, and they don't marry up sometimes because of the old system being, we're doing this is what we're doing. It's not flexible. Whereas we're now trying to make it flexible. The next big key will be trying to have multiple people use it at any one time, because you still can't do that just yet, and I'm racking my brain on how to figure that one out, but when I get to it, we'll get to it. So yeah, so we've covered the basics there. So the next thing we've got is obviously the camera settings. So you can change the way the camera works. At the moment, we've done it in linear, and we've used the cinematic camera. Now, what you could do is use the focus camera. That's going to take your first point, so your first camera point in your timeline. It's going to lock the camera there, and you'll see what will happen in a moment. We'll hit save, and we'll go start a replay. And as you can see, it's locked onto that first camera point. So instead of it moving around like it did, we're locked on here, and that's it. It's just going to pan the camera, tilt it around depending on where your player moves. As you can see there, works great until you're stuck behind a tree. So some instances that might be great. If you're doing like a top-down build and you're like, nope, I just want it to be at the top, I just want to see the top of it being built, it probably work quite nicely for that. There are lots of camera settings. There are a lot of settings that I myself don't understand, and I'll put my hand up to say that I don't understand the camera settings. What we will do is we will get a full description of these written up, and they will be held in the documentation here. So we will just have a list of all of the types of cameras and what they do and how they work for you. It'll all be on this page. And that's my next job. There's a lot to do. So if anybody wants to help write the documentation, feel free to come along. We're happy. We're happy to have people come and help out. You can do that if you have an understanding of how scripting engine works and you want to get involved. Join the Discord, give us a shout, and we can go from there with it. So that's the focus camera. Obviously, you can change, some of these settings. There's lots of different options. In and out circle, I presume that's what that means. One that I was testing around with was the spring. It was a bit too much for me, but you can have it do sort of different things. Now, obviously, we've only got 2 camera points, so we're not going to see that much of it happen. But yeah, we can see it's moved around. It's hit that point and it's bouncing back and forth, which is what a spring would do. So it's gone from A to B, bounce, 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 jump, job done. The more camera points you have, the more you can work with it. So that's really those sort of settings. I'm going to put it back to linear. When you're finished, our thing was over here. When you're finished, you would typically hit load structure or reset, and you'd hit load, build, and reset. And what that would do is load the structure that you've built, that you've recorded the replay of, and your job's done. You've done it. You're not planning to go back to it. If you want to just get rid of your build, you can just simply go beat progress, and at this point you're back to the beginning. There's nothing there. Obviously you can reload that. Going into the load menu, you'll see your builds there, and it will give you some options. So at this point you could say, hey, I'm not quite done. I want to continue recording. So you hit continue recording. It will load where you got to previously, and you could then hit the resume button. Now, as soon as you hit that, it's going to start re-recording. So let's grab this. Okay, I'm done. Now when you play that back, I'm going to stand up here so you can see what's going to happen. It's going to be a bit jarring because it remembers the last position you were stood previously, and then it's going to... So I stood there. Now, when I resumed, I'm over here. Just bear that in mind. It's gonna move your character exactly where you hit the resume button. So just bear that in mind. It's probably not going to be a thing, but I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. I think that covers that portion. Obviously, when you go to your camera setup, it has anything in there. It does. If I play these back, obviously, because you've added to it now, I'm going to go through here, point 1, play from here. It's going to get to the last camera point you set before you then started re-recording, and this is why I say do all your recording before you set up your cameras, because I'm now out of frame, but then I'm going to snap back into frame, and luckily that does work because we're working on this square. But do all your building, then do your cameras. Okay, so lastly, before we wrap things up, we're going to need to cover, obviously, we added our custom skin using the resource pack tool, but hey, how do I apply that while I'm using ReplayCraft? Previously, you would do it via the settings menu. However, that feature doesn't work anymore. The reason being is if you're doing a multiplayer replay, which is supported, you simply set how many players are going to be part of the replay, and it will capture those players during that time frame. Obviously, if you're controlling it, they can't use the items because it will throw an error saying, "Hey, Pete9xi is using the ReplayCraft. He's the current controller." That's obviously one of the limitations we had, and we do want to try and work our way around that somehow. So as a workaround for the time being, we have introduced a new chat command. So the same way that we get the sticks by typing $RC, we simply do $skin and pressing escape. That will then allow the UI element to load up. Obviously you can only load one UI element, so if you're wondering, hey, why am I not seeing this? Close chat. If you only uploaded one file to the tool, your skin will be number 1, and then you can choose size your character is. So if you use a slimmer arm character, you want to select Alex. Obviously, if you're normal Steve, would be absolutely fine. Those of you that operate servers, probably some server admins watching this, when you upload the skins for your players on your server, make a note of which one they are, tell them their number, because when they come to do this, they'll need to know, hey, I'm custom skin 2 or custom skin 10. If you're doing multiple of them like that, and you want to be sure, at the moment I've got no way of letting you preview what number is what. I've been thinking about it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but There might be something at some point for that. For the time being, just double check the numbers. You're operating a server, you're more than likely knowing enough to do this manually and not need the resource pack tool to create it, because you'll just be uploading the files directly to your server. So yeah, hit submit. That's going to select it. Now when we do our replay, we've got our player skin. If I get rid of blocks, that would be helpful. And yeah, it's gonna go off and play it back using our character skin. And likewise, if you had other people, those skins would be visible, providing they've executed this command. So they do have to do that in order for it to work. So just make sure they are doing that beforehand. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, there will be links down in the description box for Discord. If you get stuck, if you have any bugs, or you come across an issue, or something's not quite right and it's not how you expect it works, we're in there all the time. Just drop us a message. We'll either respond in the general chat, or you can use the support forum, and we'll be there to get those issues resolved for you. Until next time, take care.